Everyone desires wealth, yet most remain slaves to it. What if I told you that money itself is not the master, but the servant of power? Today, we uncover Machiavelli's hidden lessons on how money truly works, not to make you rich, but to make you powerful. If you wish to understand power, you must first understand money, not as merchants and peasants see it, but as rulers command it. For the common man, money is bread, clothing, and comfort. For the wise prince, money is none of these things. It is an instrument, a blade, a weapon forged not from gold but from obedience. The man who sees money only as food for his belly will forever bow to the one who wields it as a tool of command. Look to history, and you will see that kings did not collect taxes merely to grow fat from luxury. No, taxes are the veins through which power flows. When subjects part with their coins, they are not simply paying for protection or law. They are acknowledging dependence. They are saying, "You hold dominion over me, for you control the purse of my life." This is the first secret. Money in your hand is not wealth, but leverage. It is the silent contract that bends men without swords being drawn. Consider a ruler who hoards his wealth in vaults. Gold locked away is as useless as water sealed in stone. But when that same ruler releases a single river of coin, funding soldiers, rewarding allies, feeding the hungry masses, his wealth transforms into power. Soldiers fight not for ideals, but for payment. Courtiers flatter not for loyalty, but for stipends. Even the starving citizen will hail the prince as merciful when bread is purchased by his silver. Thus, money serves not the man who clings to it, but the man who moves it with purpose. Do not think generosity means weakness. A coin placed in the right hand can silence a critic, buy a loyal tongue, or open the gates of a city that would have resisted with spears. Armies may conquer with steel, but empires are secured with gold. When Hannibal crossed the Alps with elephants, his true weapon was not the beasts, but the coin that fed his soldiers and bribed the wavering tribes. The strongest walls fall not to catapults, but to the purse that turns a guard into a traitor. Yet there is danger in misunderstanding this power. Many princes fall because they treat money as their master, not their servant. They chase after wealth as if it were the crown itself. They believe riches alone will command loyalty. But here lies the truth. Wealth without strength invites envy, and wealth without cunning invites thieves. The man who is rich but powerless becomes prey. But the man who is cunning, who makes money bend to his will, becomes untouchable. For even when his vaults are empty, his reputation and influence compel others to fill them again. Understand this also. Money by itself inspires neither fear nor love. It is the use of money that creates fear or love. A prince who pays his soldiers generously but fails to discipline them will be abandoned when another offers more. But a prince who combines payment with fear, who rewards loyalty yet reminds his subjects that he can take away as quickly as he gives, holds unshakable control. Thus, money is not the source of authority. It is the channel through which authority flows. Remember, the miser who clutches his coins will die despised, and the spendthrift who squanders his wealth will die ruined. The wise ruler knows when to close his hand and when to open it, always with a purpose greater than gold itself. For in the art of ruling, money is never simply money. It is the blood of power, the oil that keeps the gears of dominion turning, the silent ally in every conquest. Men are simple, and they judge more by their eyes than by their reason. This is why the appearance of wealth often holds more sway than wealth itself. A prince who appears to overflow with abundance will command obedience, even if his coffers are shallow. For the crowd is not invited to peer into the vault. They see only what is shown to them, and they believe what they wish to believe. Consider the marketplace, where a merchant dresses in fine robes, displays glittering goods, and speaks with the tongue of prosperity. Whether his storerooms are empty or full matters little. The perception of riches attracts customers, allies, and even rivals who would rather join his success than oppose it. The same is true of rulers. A prince may be drowning in debts, yet if he walks among his people with confidence, hosts grand feasts, and lets the sound of gold coins echo in the streets, he will be treated as though he possesses endless fortune. Do you not see? Men love security, and they are drawn to strength. The illusion of wealth offers both. When subjects believe their ruler to be wealthy, they imagine their own lives to be secure, for surely a rich prince can protect them. When allies see overflowing treasuries, they believe loyalty will be rewarded. When enemies see signs of prosperity, they hesitate, fearing the strength that wealth suggests. It is not necessary for the prince to truly possess all of this wealth. It is only necessary that others believe he does. History is filled with princes who ruled not by gold, but by spectacle. There are rulers whose debts outweighed their treasures, yet they continued to build monuments, host lavish ceremonies, and display symbols of prosperity. Why? Because they understood that the theater of wealth inspires more loyalty than the silence of a counting room. The crowd does not measure gold with scales. They measure it with their eyes, and as long as their eyes are deceived, their hearts will remain obedient. But hear this carefully. The illusion of wealth must be wielded with art. If it appears too false, if the prince shows abundance while the people starve, suspicion will grow. Illusion must be fed with just enough reality to make it believable. The prince must release coin in small rivers, gifts to soldiers, charity to the poor, celebrations for the city, so that the illusion is reinforced by glimpses of truth. It is not necessary to give much, only to give visibly. For the man who receives a single coin praises his prince as loudly as the man who receives 100, if the act itself is seen by many. Understand also that the illusion of wealth does not merely protect power, it attracts it. The ambitious seek patrons, the greedy seek opportunity, and the weak seek shelter. All three will rush to the prince who seems prosperous, for they believe his fortune will extend to them. And so, even when his treasury is thin, he gathers strength, allies, and obedience, simply because he appears abundant. The truth is this: men follow the glitter of gold more than the weight of it. A prince who masters the art of seeming wealthy gains the loyalty of those who never see his vaults, and the fear of those who never test his purse. Wealth may be counted in coins, but power is counted in perceptions. And the ruler who controls perception commands more than the richest banker ever could. There is a great mistake made by both merchants and kings alike, the belief that to own is to control. Ownership is fragile, it can be stolen, taxed, seized, or destroyed. But control over the flow of wealth, over the hands that create it, over the mouths that depend upon it. This is what makes a ruler untouchable. A wise prince understands that it is not necessary to own the gold mine, so long as the miners cannot sell a single stone without his consent. It is not necessary to own the farms, so long as the harvest cannot reach the market without passing through his gates. Control is greater than possession, for possession can perish, but control renews itself with every transaction. Observe the banker. He does not own the businesses he funds, nor the fields that yield grain, nor the ships that carry goods across the sea. Yet he controls them all. His gold determines which merchant thrives and which starves, which voyage sets sail and which never leaves the harbor. He holds no empire, yet kings bow before him, for his control extends beyond walls and borders. This is the secret. Wealth does not belong to the man who holds it, but to the man who directs where it must go. Think also of a ruler who understands this art. He need not seize every trade, every field, every tool of industry. Instead, he places himself at the crossroads of all exchange. He creates laws, tariffs, permissions, and monopolies so that nothing can be bought, sold, or moved without his hand guiding it. The people may own their houses, their shops, their lands, yet all of it bends back to him. They may call themselves owners, but they are in truth tenants of his system, feeding his treasury with every breath of commerce. This is the dominion of control, invisible, enduring, and far stronger than the fragile pride of possession. To own too much is dangerous. Ownership breeds envy. It paints a target on the ruler's back, for men see what he possesses and plot to take it. But when he controls instead of owning, his wealth is hidden, dispersed, and multiplied through others. His enemies cannot seize what they cannot identify. His allies cannot envy what they cannot touch. He appears moderate, yet he governs everything. This is how the cunning prince avoids resentment, while still holding the true strings of power. The river teaches us this truth. No man owns the river, but the man who builds the dam decides who drinks and who starves, who prospers and who perishes. Ownership is the bucket of water. Control is the current itself. The bucket empties quickly, but the current flows without end. A prince must therefore seek not the bucket, but the river. Let others believe they possess the water. He will decide how much flows into their hands. The illusion of freedom rests upon this. When merchants believe they own their wealth, when farmers believe they own their harvest, when craftsmen believe they own their tools, they work tirelessly to protect what they think is theirs. But if all of it moves through the prince's gates, if all of it is taxed, permitted, or directed by his will, then their freedom is but a shadow, and their wealth is but a reflection of his control. He is the true master, though they will never call him so. Therefore, the wise ruler never obsesses over possessions. He does not need to appear as the richest man in the city. He does not need to display endless treasuries. Instead, he makes himself indispensable to every exchange. He becomes the hub of the wheel, the hand upon the scale, the judge of every bargain. While others fight to own, he sits above them, knowing that ownership fades, but control remains eternal. A prince must understand that money alone does not secure loyalty. Gold without fear is squandered, and gold without favor is forgotten. Wealth is a tool, but it must be used with precision of a surgeon's knife. To command men, one must balance fear and favor with finance, for together they bind subjects more tightly than chains. Fear without reward breeds rebellion. Reward without fear breeds betrayal. But the union of the two creates unshakable obedience. Consider the soldier. He fights not for ideals, but for pay. Yet if his loyalty is bound only by coin, another prince can offer more and steal his allegiance. What prevents this treachery? Fear. A wise ruler pays his soldiers well enough to make them loyal, but disciplines them harshly enough to make desertion unthinkable. Their stomachs are filled by his gold, but their lives hang by his command. They march not only for silver in their purse, but for terror of the punishment that follows disobedience. Here is the art. Money purchases service, but fear ensures it endures. Now look to the court, where advisors, ministers, and merchants gather like moths around a flame. Each seeks favor, each desires reward. The prince must dispense wealth with careful calculation, rewarding loyalty in ways that bind the recipient to him, not to their own independence. To make a man rich without keeping him dependent is to create a rival, but to enrich a man while ensuring that his fortune flows from your hand makes him your servant forever. The merchant who owes his prosperity to the prince will defend the prince's rule as he would defend his own life, for to lose one is to lose the other. Favor without dependence is weakness. Favor that creates dependence is mastery. But beware the dangers of generosity without restraint. A prince who gives too freely breeds expectation, and expectation soon turns to resentment when it cannot be met. It is better to reward selectively, making each gift appear rare, valuable, and tied to loyalty. The coin given in scarcity is worth more than a chest of gold poured out without thought. Men cherish most what is scarce, and they obey most the hand that can both give and take away. This is why wealth must be tied to discipline, for without the shadow of loss, reward loses its sharpness. Observe also the cunning use of starvation. To cut off resources is often more effective than the sword. A city deprived of coin, a soldier deprived of pay, a merchant deprived of trade, these grow desperate and pliable. The prince, who can both provide and withhold, becomes the arbiter of life itself. It is not cruelty, but necessity, for men respect most the one who holds their survival in balance. Fear of poverty compels more obedience than fear of death, for death comes only once, but poverty torments daily. Thus, withholding wealth becomes as powerful as granting it. The highest art lies in making all men dependent on you, friends, enemies, nobles, and commoners alike. Each must look to you as the fountain of favor, the granter of rewards, the punisher of betrayal. Let your enemies fear the starvation of their trade. Let your allies crave the favor of your purse. Let your soldiers know both the weight of your coin and the sting of your discipline. In this way, wealth becomes more than wealth. It becomes a bond that ties all men to your will, binding them in fear, securing them with favor, and enslaving them through finance. Now you have seen how money truly works, not as the masses dream of it, but as the cunning few wield it. You have learned that wealth itself is nothing but a tool, that its power lies not in possession, but in the hands of the one who bends it toward command. Money, as an instrument, sharpens a prince's reach. The illusion of wealth creates obedience without treasure. Control of resources ensures dominion without ownership, and the balance of fear, favor, and finance binds men tighter than iron chains. The common man chases gold as though it were salvation, yet in doing so, he becomes servant to those who understand its secret nature. He who seeks riches alone may become wealthy, but he who commands money with strategy becomes powerful. Wealth can be stolen, spent, or lost, but the art of wielding wealth as a weapon, as a mask, as a current, and as a bond, this cannot be taken, for it rests not in the coin itself, but in the mind of the ruler. Remember this final truth: money is never the master. It is always the servant. To those who do not understand, gold is a prison. But to those who rule wisely, it is the key that unlocks loyalty, obedience, and dominion. This is not merely how money works, it is how power endures.